Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Metzia, 66, on the top of the page, with the words Patome, Mile, and Pa'almahu. These are merely words of enticement designed to encourage the buyer, but they are not part of a legal contract and therefore do not obligate the seller. Rav said to Amemar, "What is the reason for this? Since the buyer is the one who needs to stipulate this condition, but he neglected to do so. And here it was the seller who stipulated the condition. Is that why you said that these are merely words of enticement? But according to this reasoning, consider the Braita, as it teaches that if the buyer says, when you have money, I will give the property back to you, this is permitted. Now in this case, it is the seller who needs to stipulate this condition. But the seller did not stipulate it, and it was the buyer who stipulated it. Accordingly, they should likewise be regarded as words of enticement. And we said concerning the Braita, what is different in the first clause and what is different in the latter clause. And Rava says that the latter clause is referring to a situation where the buyer said he would return the field of his own accord. Rav infers the reason the condition is invalid is that the buyer said to him that he would return the field of his own accord. But if he did not say to him that he would return the field of his own accord, we would not say that these are merely words of enticement, even though the statement was made by the buyer about himself and not as a condition by the seller. Amemar said to him, in fact, any condition stated by the wrong person is invalid, but it was stated in the Braita that whenever the buyer states such a condition, he is considered like one who said that he would return the field of his own accord. The Gemara relates, there was a certain person on his deathbed who wrote a bill of divorce for his wife in order to exempt her from the obligation of chalitza in the event of his death. And he moaned and sighed at the time in distress over having to divorce her. She said to him, "Why do you sigh? If you recover from this illness, I am yours. I will marry you again." The Gemara discusses the legal validity of this promise. Rav said, these are merely words of enticement designed to encourage him to grant the divorce, but they do not actually obligate the wife to remarry him if he lives. Rav Difti said to Ravina, and even if they were not merely words of enticement, but she had made an actual condition upheld by an oath or an act of acquisition, what of it? Is it her prerogative? Is it her prerogative to stipulate a condition concerning her bill of divorce? It is not in her power to do so, as it is his right to establish such a condition, and since he failed to do so explicitly, any condition she accepts upon herself is of no consequence. The Gemara answers, this statement of Rosvid is necessary, lest you say that he himself relied upon her condition when he decided to give her the bill of divorce, and therefore it is as though he stipulated the condition. Rosvid therefore teaches us that this is not the case. The Mishnah teaches, if one lent money to another on the basis of his field serving as a guarantee, and he said to borrower, if you do not give me the money from now until 3 years have passed, your field is mine. Then, if his money is not returned within 3 years, the field is his. Rav Huna says, if the lender stated the condition at the time of the giving of the money, he has acquired it all, meaning that if the borrower fails to pay the debt, the entire field is transferred to the lender. But if the lender stated his condition at some point after the giving of the money, he has acquired only a portion of the field corresponding to the money that he lent. And Rav Nachman says, even if the lender stated his condition after the giving of the money, he has acquired it all. The Gemara relates Rav Nachman performed an action in the court of the exilarch Avad Rav Nachman Ovada Gabe Reish Galusa Kishmaite. Rav Nachman performed an action in the court of the exilarch in accordance with the statement that even if the lender states his condition after the loan is granted, the lender acquires the entire field if the loan isn't repaid within the specified time period. The case then came before Rav Yehuda, who tore up the lender's deed of ownership of the field, claiming it was invalid. The exilarch said to Rav Nachman, Rav Yehuda tore up your document. In other words, he overruled your decision. Rav Nachman said to him, did a child tear it up? A great man tore it up. He must have seen it at some reason to invalidate it, and that is why he tore it up. And there are those who say a different version of this exchange, according to which Rav Nachman said to him, a child tore it up. In other words, there is no need to take his opinion into consideration, as everyone is like a child relative to me with regard to monetary laws. Rav Nachman was the greatest expert of the generation with regard to monetary matters, and therefore he could discount the opinions of others. After examining the matter again, Rav Nachman retracted his words and then said the opposite of his initial ruling. Even if the lender stated his condition at the time of the giving of the money, he has not acquired anything. Rava raised an objection to Rav Nachman from the Mishnah, which teaches if one lent money to another on the basis of the borrower's field, serving as a guarantee, and said to him, if you do not give me the money now, and instead delay your payment from now until 3 years have passed, the field is mine. Then after 3 years, the field is his. Evidently, a condition of this kind is valid. Rav Nachman said to him, I used to say that a transaction with inconclusive consent, asmachta, affects acquisition, meaning that any obligation one accepts to serve as a penalty over and above the value of what he actually owes is nevertheless binding. But Metzia said that an asmachta does not affect acquisition, and the transaction under discussion is an asmachta. Now that he convinced me that his opinion is correct, I have retracted my previous opinion. The Gemara asks, but if so, the Mishnah is difficult according to Metzia. The Gemara answers, if you wish, say, that the Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, who said that an asmachta affects acquisition, but his is a minority opinion.